I will call the meeting to order. Its agenda date, time, and location were properly announced. As I stated before, Lee, you're ready, right? Okay, sorry. You guys were in a building grounds meeting a little long, but not too long, so.
Yep, sorry about that.
No problem. We will get started with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 20th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Brian, any corrections? Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve for the month of December in the amount of $1,030,271.28?
Make a motion.
Brian, is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary.
I guess as I look at this, for the first time in 5 years, we don't have the pool fund down there. So that check has been issued. It seems a little bare down there, but we did have our foundation meeting today. And that is now going to our students and helping with the foundation. So, other than that, I had no other questions.
Okay, great. Donations.
Yes, again, every month. I almost feel like there's pressure to keep going every month on this, but our staff here, Mrs. Clapper, $330 for some classroom books. So, as they keep going, our classrooms have more and more engaging things for our kiddos to read. So, thank you for her work to give our kids that little extra.
Great. And I did not see anything, comments from the public, and nothing online. All right, and that moves us into building reports. Are you in charge tonight, Susan?
I'm in charge.
All right.
Sandy may be popping in. She's in a meeting that's running a little late.
Okay.
So there's some other areas that we're going to just we'll get through this one way or the other. So we're good.
I'm going to represent elementary talking points, but don't ask me questions.
Oh, okay.
So first off, the mid-year benchmark assessment. So both elementary and middle, we do a fall, winter, and a spring for diagnostics. So elementary and middle are now opening up and doing their winter diagnostics over the next couple of weeks. So we'll have our next set of data points to see how much growth our kids have made from the fall now through the winter. So that is underway. And for the middle school, Battle of the Books is beginning. So that's put on by our school librarian. So that'll be Lisa Grusick, and she's got a nice group of kids that are going to be engaging in the Battle of the Books, where they read a number of books and do different things with them. So it's pretty exciting. So that's underway over the next couple of weeks. And then something that we're really looking forward to as a K-12 is our International Space Station Live down there. So that's Cindy Barber, who's been heading that up, and we've been very excited to be selected. 30 kids have been, a bunch of kids submitted questions, but 30 of them got selected. So we did the videotaping just this past Friday of all the kids asking their questions that then we send up. And then it'll be a live downlink with the astronauts on February 3rd. We don't yet know the exact time. That's usually given to us about a week prior. So hopefully next week we'll hear what time that is. And so Cindy's really been doing a phenomenal job opening it up. We're wanting to invite public, and she's reaching out to other schools and things like that. So really it's been quite the thing. Like you want to add, Mike? Or?
I was just going to say, this isn't something that a lot of schools get. So this is a really cool thing for our kids. Cindy has put a lot of time into this, and her, just with the science piece and how she's tying it in. So it is a really, really cool thing, and it's another one of our advantages. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so the elementary middle has been learning all about our current astronauts. You see them throughout the buildings if you walk through the hallways. The different astronauts. So that's all part of that we've been working on. 8th grade, so just last week, Thursday and Friday, they went on 2 different field trips. So Thursday they went to LPC, and where they engaged in Explore Your Future, and that was something that Mike is a part of at the LPC. This is their first time out there, and the reports from the kids and the teachers was quite impactful. Just learning about their different careers and pathways and different things there. So they really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to continuing that in the future. And then on Friday, 8th grade has been going every year where they do campus visits. So they went to UW Green Bay, where they visit the college, they take a look at the campus, learn about the different majors and things like that. Really get them thinking forward. And that's part of the ACT class that Mrs. Rogers teaches. So both were really good field trip classes. So the strong culture, the NED show. So elementary through 5th grade, engaged in watching the NED show, and it's really quite engaging. I believe this year they're coming back in person. Last year it was virtual, and they usually focus on a different theme. I'm not entirely sure what the theme is this time, but the NED show is going to be coming here in the next couple of weeks as well. Elementary school store. I got nothing. I'm not really sure. I know they have it. I'm not sure what they're doing differently with it. I know they tie it into their monthly theme, so it must be something with that. I apologize.
I know it ties in with your theme too, so yes.
Online registration for all spring sports. Just wanted to let you know we are now up live where all students and families can register online for spring athletic participation. So that's rolled out now as well. And all the forms, everything, all the information they need, they can find online. Middle school musical, Lion King, February 11th and 12th. So the kids have been really working hard at it with their practices, and it's really going to be quite a production. So invite everyone out 11th and 12th. And the high school winter play, I Hate Shakespeare, will be featured January 21st through the 23rd. And they're going to do a preview for the public on Thursday. So there's been information that's gone out in our newsletter. So there's a preview for some of our senior citizens. And we're also, this is going to be the first time that the high school is going to have the opportunity to go watch the preview as well. That hasn't been something they've done in the past, but the high school teachers asked that they could take the high school to go see that with them. So that's something we'll be doing on that Thursday as well. Strong community connections. We just wanted to give a big thank you to all the people who contributed to making the holiday special. K-12, really lots of good things that were happening. A lot of fun. Career foods with the Jolly Good. So a lot of stuff there that we just wanted to give a shout out to. And student recognition. So we have held our middle school spelling bee, and we have our 3 winners. Our first place was Lena Schoenfeld, and second place, Caitlin Krause, and third place, Elijah Bertel. And they really did a nice job. We had about 20-some kids that made it into the spelling bee. And the final 2, first place, we then had ruled it out for second and third. I think it took about 4 more rounds just to get down to that. Kind of going back and forth, so pretty exciting. And then from the high school end, I wanted to share with you from our business world, we had 24 students that earned both PowerPoint and Word MOS certifications. And actually, with all of the students that involved, we earned 52 MOS certifications. So that's really quite an accomplishment. And then with that, Jared Konachek, he is now going to participate in the national certification competition because he has such a high score. And so that has been the first person from Random Lake that we've been able to make that national certification competition. So that's really well done to Jared. And then also out of those 24 students, we have 12 students that are earning 2 LCP credits for all of their work for those certifications as well. So quite a great job that Mr. Bill does with our business program. And then also with the National Microsoft Office Specialist exam, we had our first perfect score ever, and that was Sutton Wilkinson. So quite an accomplishment with that as well. esports. So under the direction of Mr. Ibsen, we have some All-State Award winners. Tyler, All-State MVP, and Tucker, All-State Leadership. And so tomorrow they engage in quarterfinals, and if they get through that, make it through that, then they make it to state, which will occur on Saturday. So that's a lecture.
Well, exciting.
And then I do want to give, it's not on here, but I do want to give a shout out recognition to one of our seniors, Amy Jensen. So at the basketball game, she asked one of the teachers, Mrs. Donahue, who is their class advisor, if they could do what's called something minute. And it's a fundraiser to get money on behalf of Sid Lucas and his family who had lost their house. And so she organized it, she ran it, and they raised over $600 to be able to help support the Lucas family. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Amy for her leadership and
Any elementary questions for Susan? Only about the store.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Board committee reports, buildings and grounds. What are you guys in there talking about all this time?
You wanna take that?
Sure. We were looking at different facility updates and upgrades. And we had Matt Wolfert from Bray Associates show us a couple different options and really try to take some of the things that we talked about in the board retreat and bring it into a facility that can help us, over the next 20 years. So I think there's some really nice options in there, and I think we have one that we've given him. Continue moving it down this because it seems to hit all the check boxes that we're looking for.
Great. And policy. Policy, I guess I can take that one. Or...
Yeah, we went through a second reading and we'll talk more about it later.
Okay. School report cards.
Okay. So this is another one that Sandy was going to do. Why don't you pop up the report card? So, one of the things we've learned over the last, I'd say 22 months is be flexible. So with the report card here, we have Mrs. Mountain is in a meeting currently. And for the next one, when we get to talk about our district report card for Redefining Ready, Mr. Olson is homesick. And we did a loom, so we are being all kinds of flexible.
Susan's taking all questions.
Yes. A couple things with the report card. First of all, we haven't had a report card now for 2 years. Since this started, we haven't had the test done. So this is really the first time we're seeing this. Since about, I think the 1920s school year. Susan, I'm not even sure. When was the last time we had a report card? Was it 1819? I think it was 1819. So there's a couple of things they've changed a little bit. And if you can go to that priority area, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. The calculations have changed. And there's 4 areas that they're looking at. It's overall achievement, it's growth, it's target group outcomes, and on track. What's that?
To graduate.
On track to graduate. So, when last time we had report cards, we were exceeds expectation at all 3 levels and the district. This time we were 3 of 4, and the 1 was really had to do with high school and in the way the calculations changed. So, hey, I stalled long enough.
you can ask her about the food store.
Yeah. Catch your breath. Catch your breath. So I was just talking about different calculation areas and some other things. So I don't know in your Sandy, if you wanted to look at each one of where you can go through each one of the buildings and just kind of have it look at it.
Well, what I was going to do is I was going to start with which one was it? High school, and just go over the changes.
Perfect.
So if you pull up the high school document, sorry. For those of you that have been on the board for a
Page
while,
3 for us.
you're going to notice that this looks vastly different than it has in the past. Thank you, TPI.
It's hard to grasp.
Yeah.
It is very hard to grasp. Some of the changes on the report card, way at the top, under the overview, there's a little statement there. This one starts off with RLHS is an innovative, I don't have my glasses on, so you can read it. Just so you know, this is the first time that we've been able to input a statement on the report card. So we came up with these statements, we submitted them to the DPI, and they included it as our own statement of who are we. So that's a change this year, is having that overview statement on there. The next part talks about our student population, the little green circles and bars. And it just is a breakdown of our student demographics. And then the wheels with the green talk about how some of the subgroups did with respect to the tests. And in this case, it is 9th grade ACT Aspire, 10th grade ACT Aspire, and the juniors one-shot ACT test. So, the next section has a little disclaimer on it that talks about the COVID scores, where these are typically 3 school years in a row where they do growth data. Because there was no report card last year, and because not everybody was able to test because of COVID and shutdowns and all of that stuff, this does not contain the 2020-2021 standardized test data. So they had to do some weird statistics in order to come up with the stuff, and they changed the view of it. So I'm just trying to highlight some of the changes. The data you want is still there, just it looks really different. Under the score summary, there are still stars, and there's still an overall score. I will let you know that the cut scores changed, and I went through and took a peek at the old cut scores versus the new cut scores. The district, the middle school, and the district is the only one that would have had a different cut score if they had used the old cut scores. Where the district right now exceeds expectation and has received 4 stars. Under the old cut scores, it would have been expectations and 3 stars. But everybody else's score would keep them in the category that they landed in this year. So despite the cut scores, it only impacted one of our overall scores and that was the district.
What's a cut score?
If you think about grades, the cutoff for an A is this. The cutoff for a B, those are cut scores. So where does the differentiation come from? Make sense? I believe Mike was talking about the priority area weights for us coming in, which is that blue-green pie chart. The one thing that stayed the same on here is if the school or district is above 35% free and reduced, then the growth score counts more than the achievement score. If your free and reduced count is 35% or below, the achievement score counts more than the growth score. So there is some weighting there depending on socioeconomic status. That is the same as it's been since they started doing the report card. But they've turned it into a lovely little pie graph for us now, so we can see what our priority weights are for where they came up with the final score. So you can see it's achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and on track to graduation, which starts to get explained below this. So our achievement scores and our growth scores, where they used to be up and down bar graphs. Now they have them turned into these circular wheels. They just, to think it more appealing visually, these richer grades. So you can see that the achievement score and the growth scores are both there. The achievement score is how did we do? Just how did we do? How many, what percentage of our kids, or what portion of our kids, based on this weighting, scored proficient or advanced on those exams? The growth score is much more difficult to calculate because what that'll do is it will follow student X through test 1, test 2, test 3, like the ACT Aspire 9, ACT Aspire 10, and the ACT in 11. And think, how did that particular child grow over that time? And what they do is if the child moved from a basic to a proficient, that's a point. If they moved from a basic to an advanced, that's 2 points. But you can also be negatively pointed. If somebody went from advanced to basic, it's a -2. So they track every individual student, and that's how they get our growth score. This is a relatively new score for the high school because it used to be that just the junior ACT was the only test required. Last year, we should have had a growth score because that was the second year that everybody had taken the ACT Aspire 9 and ACT Aspire 10. So growth score for the high school is a relatively new component of the report card. It's one that they plan on keeping, although there's some changes that are coming with the ACT system. Targeted group outcomes. This is very different from in the past. What they used to do is they used to take, easy explanation. If you have a group of students in a particular grade level school, whatever the reporting group is, if you had 20 kids that qualified as a subgroup, they were a reportable subgroup. But in order to protect the anonymity of individual test takers, you had to have at least 20 students in that group in order for it to be reportable. We hardly ever had 20 kids in a single group that was reportable just because of our class sizes. So what they did is they took the lowest 3 subgroups and they created what's called a supergroup. I'm not talking auto or any of those. But they would take, let's say a student was an English language learner, was special education and low socioeconomic. That student would qualify in the 3 subgroups, but their score would only count once for us as a part of that subgroup. That was so hard for people to wrap their heads around that they threw it up in the window. And they came up with this target group outcome. So everybody is reportable, no matter what size your school is, no matter what size your grade level is. Washington Island has a target outcome group because they just take the lowest quartile of your students. So if you think about breaking everybody down into the top 25%, the middle, the lower middle, and the bottom 25%, they skimmed off that lower quartile. So our kids could be special ed, they could be low economic status, they could be racially diverse. We don't know because everybody can qualify in that lowest quartile. But what they're comparing is how did our lowest group do compared to the whole group. So how are we taking care of all students' achievement is really what they're after with that. So it's a little bit more of a valid, reportable tool than just plucking out kids to create a super group. And last but certainly not least, there's the on track to graduation. And you can see that this is made up of students who are chronically absent, graduation rates, the 3rd grade ELA results, and the 5th grade or the 8th grade math results. The 3rd grade ELA and the 8th grade math, they believe are great predictors of success beyond graduation. They have a whole cadre of statistics to back that up. But that's what makes up the on track to graduation. The only part of these last 4 things that I've talked about that's changed is that target group outcome. Remember, that used to be that super group. And they do that for gap schools.
That's one question.
Absolutely, because I know I went through that really fast, I'm so sorry.
Well, this is gonna be difficult, real easy. What determines the economically disadvantaged? Is it
Free and
is it
reduced lunches.
whether you qualify for that? It's just that simple.
Right.
Okay. And is that based on family income, I assume?
Yeah, it's a federal program.
Thank you. I
And
know that pretty well.
one of the things that I'm curious, as we look at the high school, is how the interchange between growth and achievement. Because if you look at how our high school did, they achieved significantly higher than the state, which would automatically mean that if you're achieving higher, you don't have as much growth. You're right. If your students are struggling, they have a higher upside.
That's the whole good thing.
Yeah. And one of the things, as you can see in the high school, our overall high achievement actually reduced our growth, which actually reduced our score there. So I think there's some tweaking there, Susan. I don't know if you looked into those numbers at all.
We did,
Anything?
Travis and I were looking at, we were comparing Random Lake to our surrounding areas, Leesburg and, other places, and we actually had our achievement score even greater than some of our surroundings, but it was that difference with that target.
So the growth kind of put us down. It brought us down, even though our achievement was higher. So they're still working on some of these numbers. And truly, these report cards are a federal mandate for the federal funds into our state. So they had to come up with something. So
But that also means that we need to talk to you about them so that you know that they're there, which is a part of that federal requirement. I did do some longitudinal work before I came in, and just so you know, for 16-17, the high school was at meets. 17-18, high school was at meets. And 18-19, which was the last report card before this one, the high school was at exceeds. If I jump to the middle school, 17-18 was exceed, or 16-17 was exceed, 17-18 was meet, 18-19 was exceed, which were exceed. The elementary in 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, and 20-21 were all exceeds. And the district were all exceeds, but remember, the district is the one using the old cut scores would have been at these rather than exceeds. I am perfectly willing to sit down with any one of you on any of these documents and go through it to whatever depth you would like.
Does this
And what I
impact,
report.
does this impact our federal funding?
It does not, because we are compliant. If we weren't compliant, we would have to put in fixed plans, but we're okay.
and there's certain numbers that trigger red flags with these.
Not anymore.
Oh, did they get rid of like
They got rid of,
attendance
like,
and?
If one of the red flags that used to be on the report card would be a 95% or greater test participation. And if you fell below 95% in any category or subcategory, you automatically got dinged with a red flag. They took that away. I think
So this is what it is this year. It may look different next year.
Are there things we're working on based on this? Okay.
almost don't want to put too much credence on this because we're getting these, we're looking at them in January of 2022. Kids took this test in March and April of 2020. So it's more of a longitudinal trend than a siren.
And we talked about it in our school updates. We have our midterm assessments right now, and really, this is great. And there's some things here that we always look at, but we really look at our students 3 times a year. We look at where we get them in fall. We see where they are now, and then we look at where their growth is in spring. So these are things that this is politics in education. But does this have a lot of impact on our day-to-day instruction? No. The things that we're doing with ExactPath and the resources that we put into those conversations, heck, what we did all day today around our power standards and the things that we're doing around instruction, those are the things that really drive and why you're seeing high achievement in these areas. These are nice, and we'll let them keep fumbling around with the formulas and try to make it as fair as possible. But I can tell you, the meetings that we're meeting on a regular basis about where a student is struggling, interventions they need, where we're doing extensions with our GT, that's the stuff that you'll continue to see these affected here. But that's the day-to-day stuff that's more impactful in my 2 cents anyways. I don't know if you want to add anything, but
We have access internally on the password protected data sources, where we can look at individual students and take a look at their growth over time. That's the stuff that's more relevant to our decisions than this after the fact.
And just to clarify, this is all based on standardized testing.
many times with one test that year, and however it is. And I think it's a good I don't want to transition out of this, but I do want to use this to really talk about our Redefine and Ready report card. But before I transition, are we good? Any other questions with this before we get into the next document that I think is actually a better depiction of the things that we're doing?
If anybody wants to sit down and take a look at the data in more depth, I'm happy to do so.
Sandy geeks out about all this stuff, so she's more than happy.
I just have one question. So you've always exceeded expectations in the elementary, but were you concerned about your third grade English ELA scores, that predictor score?
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't normally
I'm not going to get on the excuse train, but those third grade kids had not constant, so they're in class, out of class, but they had a variety of instructional experiences prior to that test.
Sure. So you probably would see that across the state.
It's just a reality.
Yeah. You probably see that across the state then, too. Other people are probably dealing with the same issues.
Probably.
Was that our big classroom? With a couple of teachers and a large group of kids? What grade was that?
A couple years ago.
Okay. But not.
That worked really well.
I think you might be talking about that was 7th grade.
I thought there was an elementary that was Mrs. Barber.
That team class.
Yeah.
And they opened up the door between the
That was a long time ago. But there was something last year.
That was at the middle school we were trying.
It is 5th grade. Okay. That was Mrs. Barber's class, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that didn't work as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's been adjustments to that, and that was
All right.
yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't remember the grade. I didn't know if that impacted the score. Okay.
Best intentions. Sometimes things work great. Sometimes, hey, it's not because there wasn't a lot of people working really hard for that, though. So good. Other questions with this?
All right, redefining ready report card.
Okay, so Travis and I'll let Kim's gonna pull up a loom here. Uh-oh. Your smart board's acting
Stupid?
it's not looking so smart right now.
It went to sleep.
Yes.
Tired.
Too late. Too long. But pull out this document right here, and one of the criticisms. This is great, and at least there's a way to kind of rank and file schools if that's what you want to do. But in response to this, I think we really need to get back to a conversation of what's important for our students to graduate with, and what you have here is something that Travis and Andrea and our admin team, we've all been working on this for a couple of years. Actually, this is about 3 years in process of trying to pull this data together, because how you score on an ACT is important, but some of these indicators up here are as important, if not more important, about success post-graduation. And as we're going to tell our story about what does it mean to be a graduate of Random Lake, this is a piece of the story, but I think this is a better depiction of what was your experience when you were here. And I'm going to let Travis do his loom here, and it's a video kind of explanation of this. and then from there we can have some questions and go from there. So with that, go ahead, play, and let's see what Travis has to say here.
Good evening. I'm going to give you a brief summary of our Redefining Reading report card. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Travis Olson. This is my 6th year in the Random Lake District. I teach English at the high school, and I'm the District Assessment Coordinator, and for 4 years I served as a keynote student. So again, just a quick overview. This is a national initiative. It's the Career and College Readiness Initiative, and we have been part of a cohort through CISA 7 for the last 2 or 3 years, trying to get ahead of the national movement. So today we'll just talk about what it means and some of the indicators and how it's kind of helped us frame some of our conversations at the high school. One function that's been helpful is a real holistic understanding of how we're preparing high school students for their post-secondary lives. We want all students to be college ready and have the proficiency in reading, writing, math, and English, science, so that if they do choose to go on to college, they have those skills. But we also have to recognize that not all of our students do go on to post-secondary institutions, so we have to consider what experiences and skills we're giving students in the career readiness as well. Another function has been to demonstrate how clear and clean our data is. A lot of what you see on the screen comes through Wisatch Local, which is a nice program we have that does pulls from our Infinite Campus and gives us real-time reports about how we're doing on some of these indicators. And the state report card is also pulling some of these things as well. Over the last 2 months, we put hours and hours into looking at our data to make sure it is being accessed and pulled correctly. So I've learned a lot about the backside of Infinite Campus and how all the coding of these things works. And the third function is it really gives us a benchmark for some of these indicators and allows us to do some strategic planning moving forward. This is the first year we've really worked to have some of our data clean and clear. So now we have, like I said, these benchmarks to move forward. One thing before we dig into the categories is the 2021 data is for last year's graduating seniors. The 2022 is for this year's graduating seniors. So a lot of the 2022 data is current data, but it's going to change by the time the students graduate. So what you see is not what it will look like in May or June when we have this all updated. And finally, we have these overall percentages of students. And this is from last year. This is this year's as of now, how we're looking with some of these indicators. In terms of college ready and career ready, obviously we'd like those to be as high as possible. So now we know what we can work on moving forward. Let's first go through the college ready. These are some things that you're probably more familiar with because they're very similar to some of the items on the state report card. So the first thing is ACT scores. This is percentage of students who are meeting the benchmark in all 4 areas. The second one is GPA. 2.8 is kind of this threshold that nationally they found is a benchmark of readiness for college success. And also there are correlations between high school GPA and adult income and health and wellness as well. So we'd like as many of our students above that as possible. Algebra 2, these are students getting a C or better in Algebra 2. AP test scores is percentage of students scoring 3 or better, and that could change by the end of this year as our students take more exams. AP enrollment is the percentage of students obviously getting a C or better in an AP class, and then our dual credit is students enrolled in dual credit in English or math. So this will also go up as we have more and more students taking our college speech course. And I don't think real world math is dual credit anymore, but those were our two options in that area. If we go over to career readiness, we see some very different indicators that are not so academically based. The first one is attendance rate freshman year. This national movement has found that freshman year attendance rate is a huge predictor of career readiness. So it's only a snapshot of freshman year, and our attendance, like most of our attendance indicators, is really good. Next one is students involved in activities. This is students have to be in 2 co or extracurriculars to meet this benchmark, and we have tons of kids getting involved, so that's really nice. The next one is work-based learning, and it was a bit low in 2021, partly because the state is redefining what counts for some of these things. So some examples are youth apprenticeships, local co-ops, supervised agricultural experiences, which are a lot of our students do through FFA. So that's something that we are going to be able to count more into this once we get a grasp on how to incorporate that correctly. And then school-based enterprise, which could include our new cafe and coffee shop that we have students working at in the morning. So this number should increase dramatically at the end of this year and be much higher than 9% once we understand how to label all these things. This next one also should be increasing, and these are the industry recognized certifications. These are certifications nationally recognized that our students can earn. A lot of our students earn Microsoft Office program certifications through Mr. Will's business classes. And then each year we have a number of students earning these CNA certificates through their work through Grand Lake High School and LTC. So again, those should increase as we get more and more students taking those certification tests with Mr. Wills. And finally, we do have a number of dual credit options that are not math or English. So anytime students take these dual credit courses, they count them as a career pathway course because they're engaging with higher level thinking and course material to see if those are the careers they intend to pursue. And finally, community service. We have not found a way yet to accurately track how our students are doing with community service. We're working on that. We want attendance during our community service days to tie into this. So we are working on that. Those are the indicators. To be considered college ready, a student has to meet the ACT and or the GPA plus one other indicator. So essentially, a college ready student meets 2 of these indicators, and then the same thing for career readiness, as a student would meet 2 of the indicators. And right now, because our attendance and student involvement is so high, we do have 89% meeting those. And we'd love to see 100% if we can get some more of these things going on with dual credit courses and that kind of thing. For college ready, we want to keep working on that too, as well, through our coursework and our ACT preparation. I apologize for not being at the meeting tonight, and if you hear my dog barking in the background, but I'm in day 2 of the stomach flu that's gone through our household. So I hope I can attend the February meeting and answer any questions you have. Thanks. Have a good night.
Susan, anything you want to add, especially since this is very high school centric right now?
No, we really have been focused on especially the career readiness and obviously the college readiness as well. So I've really been putting a lot of emphasis the last couple of years on career readiness and trying to get kids more involved, work experience, and really trying to overall.
And a couple of things, because this is one of my passion areas too, is it's not about being college ready or career ready. It's about being college and career ready. Because even if you're going to college, you should be getting a career afterwards, right? Right. That college is not an end goal, and college is what you go to get to your end goal. So the skills that you get in the career readiness are things that will help you when you're done with college, or will help you as soon as you're done here if you go there. So, as we do this, I think this shows what our advantage is in this district. These are the things that we find are important. And I'll be honest with you, now that we track these, you improve the things that you track. When you actually put a number to it, you can start seeing some things. I know a few years ago, as we look at dual credits for college readiness, there was talk about doing a college level speech class as a mandatory piece, and at the time that didn't work. Well, if we can have 100% of our students take these classes, those are some things that allows us to have those conversations. And the other one too is the work-based learning. Last year, along with the changing the classification that Travis said, a lot of companies just shut down and said, hey, we can't take kids right now because we don't know what the heck's going on. Our goal there between community service and work-based learning, that 100% of kids get some sort of those activities, because we know you can learn as much outside the bricks and mortar as you can inside. So every year from here on out, when you hear us talk about the state report card, followed behind it is going to be our Redefining Ready report card, because together this shows you what our district is. Just one, I don't feel it does a good enough job of all the great things. And there's a lot of hard work in getting students involved in this stuff that go well beyond just a single test. So Travis will be here in February if there's any other questions or things that I can't answer. But since we had it on here, I really wanted to put these two together to show that they are, they complement each other.
Any questions?
I just have one. Is the data, it's taken at the same time every year? So like our 2021 numbers were based on the same time in that year of the 2022?
No. So this is actually live data is the way we have it set up. So 2021 is our graduating class, so back in May of 2021. 2022, those are live numbers. So like now that this semester is just being done with these grades, we're going to see an increase in the number of dual credits. We'll see an increase in a lot of and there's been a lot of work in really hooking this with Kim and the whole team with Travis and Andrea, that it automatically pulls. This is tough stuff to track, and we do a really good job in this area, but it was very laborious. We'll just go with Mr. Wills, and you know how that is with Mr. Wills. But we have 52 certifications this year. We don't have a place to really kind of put a star and say we do that. Now we're pulling that straight from our school information systems and putting it in our report card, so we can say, hey, all these seniors right now have gotten these certifications. So it took a lot of time to pick this piece and put it into this, but now it's going to be alive. That anytime you log in on the website, you can see where our graduating class is for that time.
So really right now the comparison between the years is apples and oranges.
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with spring and sports enrollment, this might get even better for the involvement in activities.
Still have more of a thorough by the end of the school.
I have to ask a really basic question, but if, for example, an AP test score, 2021 is 39%, and 2022 is 41%. Is that like 39% of the students in high school? Or what is that percentage representing? I'm wondering, is it?
So is that
39% of the graduating class?
Or of the ones enrolled in AP.
Or the ones enrolled in AP class? What's the basis for the data is what I'm trying to get to?
yes.
That's a good question.
I think 39% of class was enrolled in
Yeah, 39.
Has to be the one.
It says, like attendance rate for freshmen, 94%. Does that mean that 94% of the students had a 90% attendance rate?
That's what that means.
That one's easier to grasp.
Yeah, that one's
Okay.
easier to grasp. That's a good question on what does that mean for the AP. Because if you go down to the next one, do we think 58% of our students take an AP class before they graduate? Okay, so then that is 58% of our students get a C or better, which means there's a chance that there's even a higher than 58% of our students.
And then the
doing
same
AP.
for like Algebra 2. 60% of our students take Algebra 2? Really? Wow, I would have never made it through. That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Thank you. No, good questions. Good questions.
Okay, anyone else? All right, COVID-19, we're still talking about it.
Every month. I just wanted to, and this is the CDC updated their quarantine and reduced it from 10 to 5. When was it? Right around Christmas time? Right before Christmas time. And honestly, for us, that was a fantastic thing because it allowed our staff to get back even quicker if they were in those circles. So besides that, everything stayed the same. But once the CDC, and it's just a sign of the times, the CDC, if you remember, they went from 10. They said, "Oh, we're going to go down to 5 for close contacts." And then our local department said, "Yeah, we're going to follow the 5." 2 days later, they came back like, "Oh, we should stay at 10." And then they came back a week later and said, "Go to 5." We just kept it at 5. Once the CDC said 5,
government program at all.
I know. Careful, we're government too, but we're trying to be more consistent than that, And they said, it's 5 days. We went 5 days. We went straight, and it's helping us keep our schools open. It's helping us do the things that we wanted to do. So besides that, everything's the same. And just like everyone else, there's all kinds of illnesses going through. It's not just COVID. There's illnesses going through because we haven't been in contact for some time. But just like Travis, you know what? I can't be there, but here, I'm going to do this. So I couldn't be prouder of how everyone's just trying to take extra kids to do this or do this to make sure that our kiddos are here and we're learning.
Okay, any questions? All right, we have notification of new staff, library media aide, Bobby Norlander. Open enrollment spaces for 2022-23 for just all open enrollment?
Yep. This is just special ed enrollment. Every January we need to set caps, and this is a continuation of a conversation from last year. We look at where our special ed numbers are. And we've been pretty consistent here for the last few years is we don't have any open enrollment for these areas. So it's a practice that we've been doing for the 5 years, I think, here, and it's something that we're going to continue to do unless I hear differently from you guys.
All right, so we need a motion to approve no open enrollment availability for 22-23. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Brian, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the second reading for the Reworked and Reorganized updates from the policies. What policies are those? Are those under discrimination? I was going to say, are they under like a heading?
In all of the categories.
Just in all the categories. Okay. No wonder it was so long.
87 pages, I think.
So, is there a motion to approve? Rini, is there a second?
I'll second. Oh, I should be a committee member, right?
She's a committee.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay. She's too busy writing.
Yeah.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'm sure everyone read the audit book, front to back. It looked great, Patty. You did a great
Riveting.
job.
Was it good?
It was fantastic. I fell asleep right away.
I'm in awe of you. This is wow.
Does anyone have any questions?
That is one of our findings that came, I don't create it, we have an outside source that does it, I just tell the work for it, so. We got dinged again on segregation of duties, and there's a plan, we keep trying to, there's only so many, there's 3 of us, so.
Right.
We keep signing off on everything, so, but any other questions? Gary did a great job explaining it to the sounders, anybody read that?
I did.
I
thought
did.
it was really good.
That was riveting.
It was good.
That was great.
Okay. We don't need to approve that or anything. It was just informational. All right. No questions?
The only thing I wondered about was the busing numbers. Just the excess of expenditures in the budget.
I'm not sure which one.
Page 42, or I can just ask you about
Okay.
that one. Understand that one a little.
Yeah,
more.
let's look at it afterwards.
Okay.
Want to look at page 42 also, Patty?
The
Yeah.
people transportation services. It was a little earlier. It showed up first on page 36. It was the people transportation services. It was just, I was looking for just big variances, and that one was the biggest in the whole thing. So I just wanted to understand that one a little more.
Okay,
But I didn't submit my question in advance, so yeah, just at some point I'd like to understand.
a big
that one
variance
more.
that I know right away is we want 2 buses.
Yeah.
That would have gone on the transportation.
Okay. So then that's why. It wasn't that our cost to actually transport our students was more than we thought. It was purchasing the buses. Okay.
We added the 2 buses.
Okay. That makes sense.
And this is a
Yeah.
buyout of a lease or 2 additional? We bought out 2 leases.
So the leases we have, when we have extra money, we can actually pay them off in advance. And that is the way we set it up. So it helps us reduce our structural debt. So that's why, yeah, that's good. That is a good question. Is since we had some of that extra, now we reduce structural debt. And we own 4 of our
And
buses.
it keeps the debt this year less than.
Right. Okay.
And we paid off part of a van with, lease also, we put some money towards it.
Okay.
To reduce the length of that.
I mean, and I did wonder, like, for our revenues, the other local sources, some of that was, I think, food service, and some of it was community support, and those numbers were down a little bit than what we thought, but I thought maybe that just had to do with COVID and everything.
It did, because lunches have been free, so we don't have the local sources.
Okay.
Good questions.
That was it.
There you go. Patty's got the answer. Again, in awe.
I tried to read everything. This was a challenge. It was cool.
Okay, budget. Patty.
The quarterly report from you, I usually, I don't know, did I send you the first quarter? The first quarter is so off kilter because there's only 3 months and the teachers aren't here till the last month. The second quarter gives you a better idea of where we're standing compared to last year, and I would say we're really close and right on front from where we were last year this year. Couple variances, but right now we're looking okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
Talking about all the attachments or just a certain one? I just wondered what building we're renting, but I don't know if that's on this one.
It did, and it's for the buses.
Oh, okay. Those buses. Okay.
Darn buses, I tell you.
All right.
What did we do that for anyhow? No.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Patty. And WASB resolutions?
So, looking at the resolutions, the WASB had come up and said that there's a face mask mandate, and Chuck and I decided that we're going to go have lunch instead.
I don't think it was just a face mask. It was
Yeah.
vaccinated and
Yeah.
or negative
Yeah.
tested as well.
Yeah.
So
So I did want to highlight one in here because there was some political backlash to it that I thought that was important. And it's something I think is going to pass if we vote for it or not, if we're there. But it's Resolution 22-8, the WASB National Presence and or National Association of Membership. I don't know if you remember back in November when the National School Board Association wrote a letter to the Department of Justice about board meetings and all that other stuff. They went they went a little far, and I think a lot of organizations have said, you know what, that was very political in actually a place where you shouldn't be political. So I am in support of the Wisconsin Association pulling their national membership from that and saying, you know what, we need to stay neutral in times like this, and all you're doing is really kind of adding to the rhetoric. So I did want to put that down here. There is a need for us in WASB, with that organization, to have a national presence. But I just want to let you know that as a state, we're pulling out of the national because of that. And with all the negative press it got, I thought it was a stance from the Wisconsin to say, you know, that's not what we're going. So everything else in there, I think there's some good things. There's some things that impact us, some not. But overall, I think Chuck and I are feeling, you know what, do what you got to do, and
This one's okay to miss.
This one's okay to miss.
Yeah, we'll discuss it in detail.
Yeah. So.
At lunch.
The one about gifted and talented and changing that wording, that's not going to change any funding.
No, and the thing is, all of these are voting on what the organization should look as priorities.
Okay.
So it's not, it's you know, these are things that they will lobby for and go forward with.
Okay.
So it's really changing within WASB.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, having gone to a bunch of these, and then I know Matt Wolford, who was just in the last meeting, they're headed down, and they're not expecting a lot of individuals down at the convention because of some of those safeguards that they're doing. So,
Is that an airport?
what's that?
Safeguard. Is that an airport?
Yes.
I do like the 2201, the safe harbor legislation, being in support of that.
Right.
I think that's a good idea and a long time coming.
That is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I don't-
Which one? I'm sorry.
The first one.
Yeah.
That the victim gets
Yeah.
prosecuted.
That, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that
It's so
could
sad.
cause, it did cause issues.
Mhm.
It was something we always had to deal with, but here or there, that's history past it. But it is a good thing.
And then the one to change the funding for mental health support services to broaden the number of, I guess, professionals.
That can come in a building
that's
and
really
things
good.
like that. Yeah.
I feel like that has come up almost every board meeting in some
Yeah.
capacity, so that was.
And I can tell you that there was a lot of conversation when Tom was here. I was in, you know, a different district around the PATH program and trying to bring counselors into schools. There's a lot of places that's still taboo. And honestly, in these times, I don't know how we would survive without some of those pieces. So we're so lucky to have that.
So being my new skeptical self in the last 2 years, this requiring vaccinations to get in there, is that going to like sort of drive the voting or, you know, the control of it to
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, you know, I think if that was the case, the one that I highlighted early on about pulling from the national wouldn't be something
yeah,
that was
they
happening.
don't. That's what I was going to say earlier. That doesn't sound, you know, it doesn't sound like it coordinates well with what they did, requiring vaccination.
Right. And that's
That might
the
be
whole
part
convention.
of Milwaukee County. Too.
That's the Milwaukee County and the convention.
Not
That's
that
the
it's in
overview.
Milwaukee
Yeah.
County.
The
Dictating
venue.
what you're going to have at the venue.
Right, yeah. That makes sense. Because they seem to be on track with what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe next year.
There we go.
Oh, we'll sign you up, you bet.
I didn't say it was volunteering.
I heard
You told me you're going to take me down to a restaurant in
You already
Milwaukee.
volunteered.
Yeah.
I heard you volunteered.
I'll triple it.
I was looking forward to the Flatfoot showing me some of the good restaurants down in Milwaukee. Now we're going to be in Grafton. Yeah. We're not
Some good ones in craft.
I know.
All right, informational items.
Okay, school board elections. They're coming up, so I think all paperwork is in. Thank you for getting your piece in. Right now, we really won't have a disputed election, so
Well,
take
there's
notes.
write-ins.
There could be write-ins, I guess. That would be a new one.
You never know.
Yes. Second, explore your future, and Susan talked a little bit about LTC last week. I was out there for a couple of days, and just, you know, we talk about the Redefining Ready report card and how we can get students to start look at not just what's important with the learning here, but how it connects to the greater good and where their future is. I can tell you, last week I went home every night and slept really, really well. Trying to keep up with a bunch of 7th graders all day, but it was a really cool event. It got them up to LTC. So it was a fun piece. And lastly, there's a couple superintendents that have been working together, and then it slowly grew to a point now that I think there's 40 some districts in eastern Wisconsin, maybe it's 27, I forget what the number, are collectively doing an Excellence in Education Award ceremony. I sent it out. I think I sent it on my Inside Scoop or my Friday update last week or 2 weeks ago. And just the way there's a lot of people doing some really great things, and this is a way to highlight it. So it'll be taking place here in the next, I think, 2 months at Kiel. They have a new auditorium, so get your nominations out if there's somebody in it. It's not just teachers. It's all people that are associated with the education, coaches, advisors. Anyone that's helping us keep going and stay open are open to nominations. So seems like a really nice way in this time to spread the good news.
Great. Any questions? All right, we are going to skip item 18.
I was wondering about that.
We're all, Kim's testing us, so we're skipping that item, and so I think we passed the test. And then that takes us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Chuck, is there a second? Second. Rini? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?